I'm Forrest Griffin.
Brian Caraway.
And Lisa Tate.
What's up, guys? This is Joseph Benavidez, UFC flyweight.
Hi, this is Greg Jackson, and you're listening to It's MMAzing, and that is an amazing pun.
Get it? Like MMA, but amazing? MMAzing.
Radio.
Welcome to It's MMAzing Radio. I am your host, Dr. Law. With me, as always, DJ Mark.
What's up?
Also joining us this week, a man who just got a promotion about 14 seconds ago when I just decided. Our new Eagle FC correspondent.
Oh, congratulations.
Lavender Gooms.
Caw. That's all I know about Eagle FC. I know that Eagles go caw.
Okay, it's somewhat accurate.
I mean, do they?
So you got that part down.
You grew up in New York, man. How many Eagles you run into?
I don't know. I've never been to any Giants games, so I guess none.
There we go. Folks, we got
I met Donovan McNabb once. So one Eagle. I met one Eagle.
Was that when my brother yelled at him?
Yeah, that was the same night when he tried having one of his goons have Jessica Katarina come to his table.
That's right, Mike. Just calling out names that no one's going to recognize, but Donovan McNabb tried to smash about 10 years ago, folks. One of our classmates. All right, folks. This week's fight card is under the we just got to put something on TV. Category of UFC fight cards.
Gotta hit that quota.
Gotta hit that quota. We're just putting on some fights. As they say in the co-main event podcast, this is the JSF era, the Just Some Fights era of MMA, and this card is a good example of that. We got noted crazy person, or at least the man portraying a crazy person, Sean Strickland, taking on Dancing Jack Hermansson, who none of us have ever seen dance, but here we are. In the main event of this middleweight fight in, I'm going to assume the Apex. All these are at the Apex these days. When they talk about how they have to leave the Apex, Mark, I just keep thinking no one's going to buy tickets to these cards. Like, these are garbage. These are
really
garbage.
Expensive.
No, I mean,
right?
they say that Dana says he wants to get out of the Apex with these fight nights, and I'm like, you can't.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
This is with this? No.
Yeah, I mean, you can comp them, right? There's a lot of gamblers on the tables just looking to stay in town for a little bit longer. I don't know.
I gotta assume that getting any type of ticket sales has to be better than just nothing from the Apex. But then again,
they do sell tickets to the Apex, though.
They do?
Yeah. See, Mike's confused because when we were in Vegas in May, I called to try to see if someone would pick up the phone because we wanted to go in May. But this was that was just not happening. There was they weren't letting it happen back then.
It can't be that many people though. It's got to be like what,
no. Mark and I looked
maybe?
at the ticks. It was how much was it? It was a few $100 minimum, right?
Yeah, I thought it was close to a foul because I mean you're getting like third row seats.
I'd love to go. Honestly, I don't care how bad it is. That's how this would be something I'd actually love to go to. That'd actually be kind of cool to me.
It'd be a very intimate event. I think it'd be unique, but yeah, you're not going there for the quality of the the talent that you're seeing there necessarily. Not even that they're bad, just that the name value is not there. And you can look at this card. It's a great example of that.
Yeah, the second most popular name I see on this main card is Sam Alvey. Shout out to Sam, man.
That's what I agree. I didn't know if you were going to pull out some obscure guy here. Who's
I said main card because I didn't know if someone's going to say Alexis Davis is on the undercard, and I'd be like, I still think Sam Alvey's more popular. But
I was surprised to see her on the card. I kind of thought she retired.
Alexis Davis fought for a title.
Yeah, she had a kid. I think this is like her second or third fight back since having a kid.
Okay.
Hakeem Dawadu, not bad either on that undercard. Yeah, this card's terrible.
Wait, is this the same Enja Kawani that I'm thinking about?
Is there an Enja Kawani on this card?
Yeah, Chidi Enja Kawani on the prelims.
That's the younger brother of Anthony Enja Kawani. We saw Anthony fight before. I've seen Chidi fight a lot on when there wasn't so many MMA fights. I'd watch him on HD Net or Access TV. Real veteran of the LFA scene right there. He's a good kickboxer like his brother, but we'll see. All right, yeah, we're gonna talk about that. And that's really fucking it with MMA, to be honest. I mean, we can talk about how Dana White called us all idiots, Mark. We're all so dumb for assuming anything was up.
There you go. Not all of us are idiots. Just select people.
All of us were saying the same thing. Like, look at this big, bald coward not out here putting the belt on the champion. Okay, maybe he has something to do. Well, is he not at the press conference? Is an hour later. He's still busy, huh? Like, he just... And God forbid us, given what has happened in the last, like, year with this guy as his champion, for us to think, like, something was up, huh? Like, God forbid.
Yeah, it's just the onus to put it on the fan base to be like, no, you're foolish for connecting these dots. You know, obviously, you know, it's like, well, come on. The whole narrative going into this fight was that you and Francis have some kind of beef, that, you know, you don't put as much value into him as he thinks he deserves, and then, you know, he wins the fight and you're nowhere to be seen. You know, who logically wouldn't put those dots
he really
together?
He was really giving Francis, you know, a lot of respect in this. This came from a fan questions thing where he's like, oh, his strategy was brilliant, yada yada yada, and I'm just, you know, it seemed like his answer was just for Francis. Like, I hope Francis is watching this fan Q&A that when I give him a lot of respect, you know, some shit like that. But so what happens when the heavyweight champion currently holds all the cards, or all the cards I guess you could hold, in a world where you could just be cut and they take your belt and we never see you ever again. But
yeah, where I mean the cards are always in UFC's favor.
You know what? I was thinking about this. You know, they put fucking what's it called on ESPN pay-per-view, Top Rank, right? Is that the pay-per-view one that's on ESPN Plus? They're both on ESPN. What? There is an ESPN pay-per-view. Isn't Fury fighting for whatever Fury fights on? Doesn't Fury fight on ESPN Plus pay-per-view? Or am I imagining this?
I believe you're right.
What are we doing here? Well, let's just do it. What's the issue?
Like they're still going to be making money either way, right?
Well, you know what's because you know what happens? We're gonna hear something in like that. Oh, Francis Ngannou signed with Bellator, right? And everybody's gonna be like, "Fucking Bellator, why?" And then everybody's gonna piece together that Bellator's on Showtime, and Showtime loves them some boxing, and we're gonna have Francis boxing over there. But anyway,
I feel something I mean, you kind of mentioned it, and granted, it would be weird if Francis went to Bellator, but something that I think we were going to touch on, and something that we don't really give Bellator a ton of credit, because I don't think they're necessarily this opportunity presents itself to all of their fighters, but on Eagle FC, Karatanov is a Bellator fighter. Bellator lets guys do other stuff.
Is he under contract?
Yes, and Scott Coker talked about it because after Bader, you know, retained his title. As a little note, Ben Henderson won his match over in Bellator. But after in the press conference, they asked him about, what'd you think about Eagle FC? He talked about his close ties to Habib and Javier because, you know, AKA and
it used to be like a feeder system. Scott's good at that, man. They get like a gym to feed him. Like, right? People ask why Connor's gym stopped feeding UFC. He's been feeding Bellator, all their young guys coming out of SBG. But yeah, go ahead.
So, I mean, when he talked about the event, you know, he talked about their ties. And he also talked about how, you know, they lent Sergey over to Eagle FC because I can't remember who Sprung was supposed to fight, but I don't recall who it was. But he got hurt, so they needed someone. And Bellator has pushed their champions. I can't even remember who the guy was, but their 125 champion fought Horiguchi over in Ryzen. So, I mean, it's not like an open thing. I think
it was a guy that just beat Horiguchi, wasn't it?
I honestly don't remember who it was, which is on me. But it's just one of the things, you know, when Francis talked about the things that he didn't like in his UFC contract, it was that he's essentially, you know, a independent contractor with no freedom. And, you know, Bellator, I believe their fighters are also independent contractors. I don't think they're part of the company necessarily. But it does seem from time to time they do let their athletes cross-promote with other... I mean, and that's easy to say for Bellator. They're the smaller dog.
That's the thing you have to do. Like, one of the things you have to do to, you know...
Yeah, but it could be an appealing factor, you know, if Francis is on the open market and he's talking to PFL or Bellator and they're like, you know what? We can't quite pay you maybe as much as the UFC can throw at you, but we're going to let you do that Tyson Fury fight because we'll do it a Showtime thing, like you said, Bob, or we'll let you in PFL and we'll let you do your boxing stuff too. These are avenues that these other organizations might be able to entice talent, you know, especially if you know, Bellator or PFL does get Francis and it becomes a talking point. It's like, I took this contract because I have a lot more freedom. I can do a lot more stuff. under this contract, and maybe he says he's not getting paid as much as the UFC was going to pay him, but he has the freedom to, monetize himself outside of that. So, we'll see. Well, time will tell. But that is one thing that Coker mentioned it.
You said Eagle FC. I by the way, I just realized I was working under the assumption that our main event for Eagle FC was going to be Kevin Lee and Diego Sanchez.
That's upcoming. I
thought that was like the kickoff. Like we're going to kick it off with Diego Sanchez getting baptized. And just we're not doing that till March apparently. Since we mentioned it, Khabib's probably, we don't know if it's backed by Warlord money, whatever. Khabib is backed by some sort of money promotion, Eagle FC. Eagle FC 44 took place in Miami. What's the first 43 events?
Ruski events.
Sergey Haritonov, too big, too experienced for Tyron Spong. But I like Tyron Spong. He's back in MMA. We haven't seen him do any sport where you're allowed to kick anybody since his leg snapped like a twig. In that fight with Gokhan Saki. Rashad Evans got a unanimous decision victory. Ray Borg and Cody Gibson threw down. It was apparently a bit of a crackerjack right there.
Cody Gibson sighting. Holy shit.
Yeah. Doomsday Howard took a loss against Ramazan Kuramagomedov. Anthony Njokuani, whose brother fights this weekend in the UFC, took a loss. So yeah, I mean, a lot of these matchups are random, but like Russian fighter versus more well-known American fighter, but got a lot of attention on a weekend where there wasn't really anything else going on fight-wise, at least on a Saturday. Bellator runs on Fridays or Thursdays?
It might have been Friday.
Fridays, yeah.
Probably definitely wasn't Thursday, but yeah, and Bader had a I saw the highlights of this
was
fight.
Saturday the 29th?
Yes.
Oh, Saturday. They ran Saturday then.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I saw the highlights, and it was really just Bader clocked him early in the first round, got a knockdown, very good. And it was actually, he landed 3 good right hands. It was an overhand right and then 2 follow-up straights going forward that landed clean. Actually looked really nice. His opponent was then in that same round able to take him down. And then the highlights jumped to round 4. So I'm guessing rounds 2 and 3 didn't need to talk about.
Yeah.
Round 4, the other guy, round 4, Bader got a takedown. I was like, okay, he gets that round. And then round 5 was a highlight of the other guy taking Bader down. So I was like, okay, not a ton happened in this fight, but Bader was able to retain his heavyweight championship, and that's got to give him a little bit of an ego boost, having lost in that tournament. So.
He's gonna fight Czech Congo in France. The rematch.
And they fought before,
it was terrible.
Yeah, was it a draw?
It was that terrible, weird
disqualification.
Congo said he got eye poked.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
I did like the number one comment I read. The most popular comment in response to this fight was, "Oh, France is going to ban MMA again." Given, so that really tells you what we're doing there. I guess I'm happy we're not booking Fedor versus Ryan Bader, but if this was the other option, I guess they could have just booked Fedor versus Ryan Bader. I'll be honest.
Is this the first I guess quote unquote major MMA promotion to come to France?
I think so. I think this is the first.
Damn, this is what you get.
I mean, props for getting there.
I'm just saying, it's like, I don't care that Czech Congo is a Frenchman. No. If I'm Pierre in France, I'm like, no, give me 2 non-Frenchmen. Don't give me Czech Congo.
Mike just leaning into
quality.
It. Pierre, Jesus.
Man, I mean, I think they're pretty nationalistic over there. I'm sure they're gonna love having a
no.
French.
They're nationalistic for their winners. Okay.
I explained this last week. I explained
as Ngannou pointed out last week. When he was fighting the real Frenchman, he was just a Cameroonian.
Yeah.
He was a Cameroonian bum. And as soon as he won, the newspaper articles are French Cameroonian.
Benson Henderson took a split decision victory. Last fight on his Bellator deal. Was talking afterwards whether he wants to keep doing this or not. Maybe he goes to Eagle FC. Maybe, Bendo can do whatever he wants. You want to hang out and keep taking up your split decisions here or there, Bendo, go for it. You want to go home, go for it. I don't think Bendo takes a lot of damage in his fights either, to be honest, the way he fights. So,
yeah, it's been a little bit of a rocky road on Bellator, so we'll see what his next move is.
He may not get as big of a check. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
Yeah. Fight news. I don't think anything's really going on yet, to be honest. All we really, let's just fucking pick this fight. Let's just move on with our day. I don't even care anymore this week, guys. There's no MMA news. Okay,
we're
we're gonna what?
The diss track. We're not gonna talk about.
Oh, I apologize. The biggest news of the
there you
week:
go.
Jake Paul, who was on the MMA Hour today, saying that he wants to spark a revolution and a coup with MMA fighters. Which I'm like, if he's being disingenuous, I don't care. I've decided I don't care anymore. Like, it's worth it for how much he's bothering the UFC.
I'm amazed he knows the word coup d'etat.
I mean,
I think you learned it January 6th.
Today, the Arizona Athletic Commission decided to be like a bunch of other these commissions that are caving to promoters, where they're not going to release pay at the end of events. That's a thing that's going on now. Promoters are lobbying them not to release the pay of fighters at the end of events. We got that shit going on. We got the UFC nickel and diming motherfuckers. If this annoying YouTube kid wants to bother Dana White, and you know Dana White's big fucking head turned almost purple watching this video. Okay. So is the name of the song Fuck Dana White, or is that just the chorus?
I don't know. I only watched it once.
Okay.
Can't say I watched it in its entirety.
I watched the whole thing. Okay. First off, Cyborg being they have a skit at the beginning where their fake Dana White is negotiating with Cyborg. And, like, he's cartoonishly evil. Okay? And cartoonishly evil. And then, when they're laughing, him and his cronies, after they've screwed Cyborg out of money, Jake Paul and his crew shows up, and Jake Paul says, "What you hold on, you bald bitch." I think is what he calls him. If I'm not mistaken, a bald bitch, I think.
Yeah,
Sure,
correct.
I can believe it.
And then, for some reason, Antonio McKee
Good pull.
is just there as part of the crew. And I'm like, is this for us? I thought about it. I'm like, is this literally for me and Mark? Antonio McKee is there? Like,
Yeah.
It's not even like, you could call yourself a hardcore MMA fan at this point, and if you didn't know who Antonio McKee was, I'd be okay with it, I think. Like,
Yeah,
you could be
it's a deep pull.
It's a deep pull. I mean, you might know him as like AJ's dad, but like, you're not going to pick him out of...
Maybe.
Like, Mike,
Even then, you're pretty hardcore.
Mike, did you pick out Antonio McKee? Be honest.
I did not know.
Yeah. Like, that's a tough one.
Deep cut.
I mean, but... And then, like, Dana White's just getting his ass whooped in this video while Jake Paul raps about him. And, yeah. It had, like, 1 million views I saw in the first day, and I'm like, yeah, okay. This is just everybody talking about how the UFC isn't paying their fighters. I don't know I don't know how to analyze this, Mark. I'm in favor of everything this kid's doing right now. I'm 100% on board with this bullshit. I'm going to call it bullshit because a lot of it is, but yeah, man, do it.
It would be really interesting to see the internal machine of UFC and I was going to say Zuffa, but Endeavor and really how they're reacting to this. Is this like any press is good press? This guy that has a lot of viewers is almost constantly talking about your product. Mm-hmm. Is it good even though it's in a negative light, or is this something where they're kind of like, okay, like I don't know. I'd be really interested to see some like internal meeting documents about like how they plan to deal with this, even if they even are. And I imagine they're just like, we're just gonna wait. I mean, at some point he's gonna get tired. There's only so many diss tracks he could make. There's only so much he could talk about this until even Jake Paul will lose interest. And you know, we'll see how tenacious this kid is. You know, he's definitely. I mean, he's been talking about it for well over a year. We've talked about how it's in his own best interest to talk about this stuff, right? I mean, he's trying to goad these people on the UFC payroll to, you know, challenge him in the ring so for his own, you know, financial benefit to have these big fights. But you know, how long can
I guess
keep this up is an interesting
the
question.
diss track is going to be turned into NFTs, and then all the money is going to go to is going to go to fighters. Is what he said today. I don't know how.
How do you turn that into?
I still
don't get NFTs.
Well, Stefan should have been here.
Yeah. My company's getting ready to sell NFTs. I don't get NFTs.
I don't. Yeah. Look, I saw him today. Ariel was just like, he's like, would you want to do MMA? And he's like, yeah, but you got to pay me. He says, I want $25-35 million, which you think sounds like a crazy number. And they're like, well, he made $20 million in his last 2 boxing matches. Why the fuck wouldn't he ask for $25 million to do MMA? Like, that's it. That's how it works, right? Like,
I don't know if that's how it works, because he's an adequate boxer with a little bit of power.
No,
and
it doesn't matter if he wins or not. You don't think people are going to show up if they say Jake Paul's fighting UFC?
The only reason. I think that's the only reason, because he has.
That's the only reason any of them make money. None of these people make money because they're good fighters. They make money because they draw. You could be 50-0 in the UFC. If nobody was watching, they wouldn't pay you.
You know what? I apologize. For about 30 seconds, I, for some reason, flipped back to you should earn things because of merit. I don't know what the hell I was thinking.
Honestly, I don't think this isn't based on merit. If the whole point is to get people to watch this fucking thing, he gets people to watch it. That's
there has been no UFC fighter that's even come close to that kind of paycheck. So the real question is who to 20 million?
People think he's making around 15. People think he's made 15.
Shocking. I'd love to actually see the figures on that because he's making some percentage on
I think
pay-per-views.
yeah.
I mean,
no, but he wasn't even talking to UFC because they were like, because like Eagle FC said they reached out to him, which I'm like, Khabib's manager is Ali Abdelaziz. Nothing is true, and I'm gonna take the word of the YouTube kid's like, yeah, he didn't offer me anything. He says I'll fight Khabib if they want me to fight Khabib, but you gotta pay me. So
he'd love that fight. He's a good 40 pounds heavier than him. But really the question is, okay, if he wants to do MMA and he wants to garner that type of paycheck, and I'm guessing that's probably not with pay-per-view points, right? These boxers, when they're getting 30 clear, it's 30 clear. They get that and maybe they make money on the back end on the pay-per-view too. Maybe they don't because
I think the assumption is you pay me the money now, you'll make your money on your promoter and the network will get their money back.
Who's going to do that? What promoter is going to put 30 mil? No, I'm not even disagreeing with you, Bobby. Like I think I'm not
saying it's going to happen. I'm just saying this is he's almost it's almost like it sounds ridiculous, but literally like he did it in boxing.
Yeah, but there's a precedent for that in boxing. There are boxers that make that much. There's no MMA.
Well, I think the idea is to set a precedent
to change that. Yeah. And I just question like what is the promoter? Maybe it's a Jake Paul promoter, right? Maybe he bets on himself. And he gets his own promotion or something and does it that way. And maybe that works. It's just, I'd be interested to see if it ever does come to fruition, how that works out. Who's going to,
the single most profitable UFC event is the when Conor fought. I mean, it called a UFC event when Conor fought Floyd.
Sure. Yeah.
That's the most money. That's the most money the UFC made.
A UFC event?
No, that's the most money the UFC made on a single event.
Oh, okay. All right.
No, think about that. The UFC still, Conor got $50 million or whatever the number was, and the UFC still made more money on that than any other event they put on themselves, which I think there's something there. Your fighter got paid and you got paid, but look, I mean, the kids just look, you got to try to parse out what the kid's talking shit, and some of this is Ariel asking him questions like, what do you want to do with this? What do you want to do with that? And you got to parse out with like the actual thing about fighter pay, which again, I don't know if he really cares. Maybe he does, maybe he doesn't. It doesn't really matter. Enough people just have to keep talking about this. Promoters wouldn't be out here trying to stop commissions from releasing fighter pay, like payouts on events, if this wasn't a problem. This is an issue. This is a threat. Francis Ngannou is a threat to his business model. Jake Paul's a threat to his business model. It's just people sign. I mean, we'll see what happens. But we got a year of this. We're gonna have an entire year of Francis updates, guys. Because, I mean, if they strip him, here's the thing: they won't strip him of the title, because if they strip him of his title, his contract's up. That's it. He gets to go home immediately. So
is that really how it goes? Like
he's a champion. He's under a champions clause right now. He's got no title fights left on his contract. No
wonder.
So he has to
fight.
They
can still do interim. They can still do interim.
So we're gonna have an interim champion.
We're gonna have a couple.
One's gonna win and one's gonna lose to somebody else. Yeah.
I mean, at least that guy's gonna get defended. At least once. I'm saying that's gonna be my prediction.
I was
gonna be interim heavyweight championship, and it's gonna get defended.
I forgot who asked this question, but I was listening to the Co-Main Event podcast, and someone, I guess, sent him a question saying, like, is it not a problem that the UFC is gonna have a heavyweight champion that isn't as good as Francis Ngannou, and we're gonna have they have a light heavyweight champion who isn't as good as John Jones, and I don't know, they got a flyweight champion who is he better than it? I mean. He didn't beat Henry Cejudo, They got a bantamweight champion that didn't beat Henry Cejudo. At a certain point, you know what I mean? Does it matter?
Yeah, they've had weak champions before.
No, I'm not saying the champion's even weak. He's just it's not even like, oh, this guy's probably not the best. We're like, we know the best. He's sitting over there.
Definitely happened before. We had DC is light heavyweight champion. There's been a slew of heavyweight champions where it's like, this guy's clearly not the best. Like Fedor's out there.
Yeah, but I'm talking in this era where the sport's getting attention. I mean, DC is one thing. The champion's under suspension. I mean, That's one thing. DC. I mean, we saw
could look
Glover
at Sterling.
Glover got his ass beat like 10 years ago by John Jones. Okay, it was like 10 years ago. I'm just saying. I don't know. I mean, does it matter? I guess I'm under the impression they're supposed to have the best fighters in the world.
Yeah, well,
They just have the most. They put on the most events.
they want you to think that. That's for sure.
They're just doing like the fast forward version of being WWE, man. This is interesting. Just just running through the history quick. All right, this fight this weekend with Sean Strickland and Jack Hermansson.
Mm-hmm.
I watched the weird video of Sean Strickland showing us his house. It's like 2.5 minute version of a shitty version of Cribs, where he's like, "These are my guns. This is the gun I take out if I gotta check the mail. Might have to shoot a crackhead. This is the gun where if I go to a sketchy neighborhood, it's got more firepower."
So what you're saying is that I really need to watch this video.
Nah, you're good. It's fine.
Okay.
You're not missing much. I mean, the one part that almost annoyed me was just like, he's like, "This is my toilet. The thing's broken. The flusher's broken." So he's like, "I gotta lift the thing on the back and pull the chain to make it flush."
Oh, we've all been there before.
Yeah, no, here's the thing, Mike. I mean, I saw a lot of people complaining. I feel everybody in their 30s is just like, "Yo, this is $10. This is 5 minutes of work and $10 at Home Depot." And I'm like, look, the only thing I know how to fix is toilets, okay?
maybe 10 minutes of work. If you just can't get that little chain thing just right, and maybe you gotta cut off a few of the things.
Oh, you're like, I gotta move it or something?
Just taut enough.
Too much slack, not enough slack.
Tight, so maybe 10 minutes of work at most.
I'm just saying, I saw that part. I'm like, okay, you could fix that. Come on, man.
Yeah, Bobby. I mean, he gets to show whatever he wants in his house. This was
I don't know.
his way.
He might be crazy and he does whole thing, but he really plays it up.
I feel if you have the ability to kill someone with your feet and hands, you should be able to fix a toilet.
I don't know.
You guys are missing the point. The point is that's him being relatable. That's him saying, "Look, I'm just like you. My shitter doesn't work like the rest of you too."
If you're in your 30s, no. If you're in your 30s,
in a crib and saying, "Hey, Ice Cube, flush that toilet. Let me see how that thing flushes." Okay. If he's giving a house tour, he could show anything he wants. He knew his toilet was broken. He's like, you know what? This would be a funny bit, a relatable bit. I'll show you. Oh man,
I thought I was relatable.
This
you just talked about how you know how to fix it. We all just talked.
Yeah, but mine was a problem for half a day.
We're judging him that he has a shitty.
Look, okay, this is besides. I don't know. I'm not. I mean, he's a good fighter. Was he 21-3? I think.
We're not talking about his fighting.
He's a really good fighter, but
yeah,
I don't know. I think a lot of people. I mean, I don't know. Maybe I thought people I don't like the guy putting up a front, but he's a good fighter. He's fighting Jack Hermansson. He's I think a -200 favorite, maybe. Does anybody have that in front of them?
Yes, Sean Strickland is a -210 favorite.
Yeah, I'll take him. Hermansson's like what, plus 160, 150-ish?
Plus 175 on DraftKings.
I'm gonna take Strickland. Mark, what do you got?
Yeah, same. Looking through the record, trying to look at how's he do against wrestlers? He lost against Usman, but you can't hold that against anybody. So, and
he wrestles himself too. He'll wrestle himself too.
Yeah,
so.
I mostly known him for his hands, so that's kind of what I'm anticipating. But yeah, he's a great fighter. I mean, and you can talk about if you don't like his shtick.
No, he's a great fighter. He's marching his way to a title shot here. But I just think the shtick for me is starting to. It was funny. At first,
sometimes it's like you can play a character and you don't like that. We've seen the reality of a lot of these fighters. I don't like that either. It's like either way, it's hard to be likable.
Look, I don't blame him. Go for it. It's just not doing anything for me.
Yeah, I mean, look, you have to differentiate yourself. And if it is just being a fucking weirdo jackass, it's like...
Is this all Chael's fault? Honest question. Maybe. Is this Chael's fault? All this, everything since then? Is this all because, we got a guy
He just showed the system to people. He just showed that, look it, without being some type of caricature, winning fights is not enough.
By the way,
even some exciting fights.
Shout out to Chael Sonnen, folks, because when he got arrested, I remember John Jones made some shit up about Chael getting arrested for hitting a woman. No, and what happened was people were talking shit to Chael's wife, and Chael defended his wife and dished out 5 ass kickings. Okay,
that's right.
I say 5 because there were 5 charges, and all of them were dropped. So. Fucking undefeated and undisputed still, huh, man? Chael. Hero. You know, he got a money laundering charge from like 15 years ago. We put that aside. But, you know.
Wait, for real?
Yeah.
I think real estate or something, right? It was
Some real estate scam. Okay? Real estate is a scam, man. I'm trying to buy a house now for 2 months.
Victimless crime.
Yeah, fuck
Come
that.
on, guys.
Okay. But yeah. Didn't hear anything from John Jones apologizing for that one, I guess. Man, does John Jones just see his money disappearing when Francis leaving? Like, is John Jones just seeing the check leave? Is that what's going on here now?
Well, Dana's all about it now. Dana talks like, oh yeah, Francis and John Jones, that's the next fight to make. And it's like, well, yeah, you were supposed to make it for this one, and you didn't want to do it
I
then.
do like people saying, like, okay, we're going to have to do Jones and Stipe. I'm like, well, Stipe hasn't fought since he lost his title. What is Stipe up? Is anybody okay with this fucking promotion? Like, what's the relationship there? By the way, I'd love to see Stipe versus John Jones. I'm not sure John Jones wins that fight. I'm not sure John Jones wins
and
a lot of these
heavyweight
fights.
at all is interesting.
Give me John Jones and Black Beast. Let's see what happens there. You know? What is it? Taito Iwasa's out there. You know, he beat up Greg Hardy. You know, Taito Iwasa kid wants to beat up another woman beater, beats up John Jones. That'll work. He can be just, you know, slaying the evil.
This is the longest tangent in between picking fights. Mike, tell
Yeah, I was
us
gonna say that. Part of me wanted if Mike didn't pick this fight now, but Mike's gonna pick.
He did it.
Strickland.
He did. We just went on a completely.
Go ahead, Mike.
We
got?
went on such a tangent. I was starting to wonder, did I end up saying I'm picking Strickland or not? I
think we all
don't know if I
assumed.
had.
Look, I mean, yeah. What are our standings right now, by the way, after you make your pick?
I'm picking Strickland. The favorite is Sean Strickland. And to give you an update, very early update after 1 month of 2022 being done.
Yeah.
Bobby and I are 3-2. DJ Mark is 2-3, and Chalk is also 2-3.
All right. I'm better. Marge, I'm barely better than just picking the favorite.
I mean, honestly, the real telling sign there is we're a month in. We picked five
fights.
dude.
And there was a pay-per-view in there.
Does anyone wonder why Stefan left the podcast? It's like, yeah, it's a dead zone out here.
Yo, they put on a pay-per-view, and we looked at the pay-per-view and said, no, we're picking 2 fights. We're picking 2. Yeah,
we miss you, buddy.
Yeah, let me feel better about this. Let me look at next week, how many we're picking next week real quickly before we put a close. We shut down the MMA talk 30 minutes into the podcast. All right, here we go. The champ, Izzy versus Whitaker. We're going to pick that. Co-main event. There's only one title fight. Okay. Co-main event. Tai Tuivasa versus Derek Lewis. We're definitely picking that.
All right.
And right now in my head, I don't know where I'm going with it. Middleweight, Jared Cannonier, Derek Brunson. That's interesting. I don't want to go with that one either. Kyler Phillips versus Marcelo Rojo. Okay, we're probably not picking that one. Unless I figure out who, you know, Marcelo Rojo is.
Correct.
Bobby Green versus Nasrat Haxparat. We probably pick that one. Bobby Green been doing stuff. And Nasrat's had enough UFC fights. Okay. 4 at least. Is it Roxanne? This is her final fight? She said?
I think so.
Maybe we all pick Roxanne to win, and then we'd be sad if she loses and retires at once, guys. Okay, this is better. This is like a 15-fight card, too, man. Alexander Hernandez versus Renato Moicano is on the early prelims, and I think that might be better than most of these fights that I've mentioned so far. That actually sounds like a good fight. So,
could be.
All right. So, yeah, Jake Paul's calling Dana White a bald bitch. I hope Antonio Mickey got a check for being in that music video. Let's do stuff we like, which mine is going to consist a lot of wrestling talk, and Mike probably is going to join me for much of that wrestling talk. Let's go with Mark first, though.
Yeah, sure. I don't think I mentioned it last week, and that was on me. The Legend of Vox Machina, the animated series on Amazon Prime, that's based off of the first campaign of Critical Role, just started last Friday. They're doing... Oh, you saw it. Nice.
Yeah.
They're doing 3 episodes a week. There's going to be 12 episodes, so 4, basically a month worth. And I really enjoyed it. You know, having watched that season, the first 2 episodes, I don't even remember that arc at all. But I do, the main arc that the show is going to be following is them going after the Briarwoods, which I did remember episode 3. I remembered vividly watching those sessions. So that was really fun to have watched, to kind of see the path that show has taken over the course of, probably the last decade or so. To see them now get their stories told in a more, formatted way. And to have watched the sessions and then see how they animated them and, the adjustments they made and stuff like that. I really enjoyed the show. I think fantasy and comedy has been a trope that has been very difficult to pull off. I don't think a lot of projects have really done it adequately. And I think, even when I was thinking about this earlier this week, I can only think of like Monty Python and the Holy Grail as really one of those pillars to really nail it well. I think Vox Machina does a good job. I think the show is really fun. It's entertaining. It's not genre defying, kind of like maybe I was hoping it would be. It's not, earth shattering, but it is a very fun tale. And I think it definitely falls into Prime's kind of niche of adult animation, like they did with Invincible. They're not shy about showing nudity, showing violence, showing gore, foul language. This stuff's all on the table. And rightfully so. It kind of needed to be. I was watching read an interview with the people of Critical Role and said, and they were shopping this around. Some of the other streaming services wanted them to take more of like a kids friendly aspect, but that would not be true to the sessions they had. It's a bunch of adults playing D&D, and they do adult things like have sex and drink booze and get drunk and do drugs and stuff like that. And it would be inadequate to the show to try to alter that for a different audience. So I think it stays very true to the product as a whole, and it's been a very fun show. I would definitely recommend it. And I feel like I was talking about, fantasy and comedy is a tough combination that many have tried and failed. And they do a very good job of it. I think the show succeeds way more than it fails. And my one nitpick is really going to be, they showed this early on. Their opening sequence, while I think animated great and that aspect is great, their song feels really muted. And that feels so weird coming from the sessions, because they wrote multiple different songs for Critical Role, and all those things was the kids say, like clap, whatever the adjective is. Slap. Oh, see, I was not even close for what it is, but like those songs get you hyped. Like many times watching Critical Role, I'll get sorry, my dogs are going nuts in the background. Those songs would get me super excited to watch the sessions and to see them finally have a chance to do like this more, serialized show of what they've done, and to see that part really fall off just seemed weird. And it's not even like the song's bad. There's no lyrics. It's all instrumental, and it just doesn't build. It feels very monotone. And I remember they showed the opening sequence like a couple months before the show came out, and I even told Christine, like, I think they purposely weren't playing the real song, and that's going to be a surprise when the show comes out, because their theme songs have been so good, and they couldn't really reuse the ones they did for the sessions because they talked about it being Thursday night and playing D&D and stuff like that. So I wasn't surprised, but I was just surprised they didn't write a new one that just fucking nailed it out of the park. So that's my only disappointment. Otherwise, I think the show's been really good. Outside of that, gaming wise, still playing Deep Rock Galactic, loving it. I think last week I talked about picking up Windjammers 2, and I've been getting better at that, and that's been really enjoyable. And lastly, I wanted to mention, and I'll probably have more updates to this when the channel comes to more fruition, but my wife Christine in the last like 3 weeks to a month has been very proactive in wanting to start a joint YouTube channel together. She does art. I've been talking about doing videos about video games and what have you, and she's really been pushing it, and we started filming stuff, and I started editing, which I haven't edited video in a really long time. And so just yesterday I started editing some stuff she did, and I really enjoy that. I remember in college really liking video editing. It's really fun to get a raw piece of footage and just kind of start cutting it up to make it just
What are you using to edit? What are you using to edit?
It's called Lightworks, I think.
Okay,
it is
Lightworks.
Yeah, it's a free software. We basically looked up like what free software could we use. We're not trying to do anything crazy. And we'll kind of see what comes of it all. But it's been fun just even messing with this first time, just kind of getting in the groove. And it's a lot of relearning stuff and just figuring out a new, software suite and not knowing, what all the buttons do, and watching YouTube tutorials. But when you're in kind of the flow of watching and being like, okay, I can cut this down and make this, kind of go a little smoother or what have you. It's been really fun. Messing with songs and audio has been much more difficult. Like, I am not a DJ, so we have like a 40-second song we're trying to use, and it's like, okay, this video is like 4 minutes long. I got to loop this thing, and my loops have not been seamless. They're very.
Wait, how are you using the music?
We're downloading music from, I think it's called Upbeat.music or something. They let you get it down 10 tracks a month, and then if you credit them in the YouTube
I gotcha
thing, that they won't strike you or whatever. That's so they say. But yeah, just messing with that stuff's been really fun. Video editing is not very hard. It is really just learning the basics and then just watching the same shit ad nauseum, just being like, okay, this doesn't look quite right. How can I make it smoother or better? And I find that really enjoyable. So it's been fun to get back into that. And obviously when we get the channel kind of up and running, I'll have more updates on that, but it's been fun kind of messing with that stuff. So yeah, that's what I like this week.
Yeah, be sure to follow It's MMAzing social channels, because once Mark tells us the channel is live, we'll be sure to,
Sure.
Indeed.
put it all up there. I thought you were going to talk about Sony buying, what's it called today, bro?
Yeah, and I think last week it was after the show that Microsoft bought Activision. This is big news in the gaming sphere, but personally, there wasn't a lot in the Activision catalog that I was super tied to. Like, I'll play a Call of Duty every 5 years, so it's gonna suck that's not around. And then I've played, and what Bobby's referring to, Sony just bought Bungie today for $3.6 billion, I believe. And I played Destiny 1 and 2, and they're fine. I mean, honestly, at the end of the day, what kind of irks me was the acquisitions Sony had been making didn't really hurt people that much, because a lot of the companies they ended up buying, they were already making exclusive games for Sony for years. So when they finally just picked them up, it was like, okay, that just makes sense. Like, Insomniac has been making PlayStation exclusive games forever. So now that they're just an official PlayStation, developer, or their own by them, it's like, okay, that's kind of more par for the course. Same thing with Blue Point. And some of the other acquisitions they had, like, these guys were just making exclusive games already for Sony. So what kind of sucks is where it's like they take a big third-party publisher like Activision or, God, who were the guys before that? Why am I blanking on them? Bethesda. It's like these were big third-party companies. They made, Elder Scrolls, jokingly Skyrim's on literally everything, So now to have them buy those companies and honestly, within some time probably be completely Xbox and PC exclusive kind of hurts for people that may have only bought a Switch or bought a PlayStation. So a lot of people are talking about after the Activision acquisition, like, oh, maybe, if Sony wants to really get back, they need to buy Capcom or Square. And, as a person that has Sony products and I'm a big Sony fan, like, it would be like, oh, those acquisitions, I love their games, and it'd be, it wouldn't hurt me if they were exclusive, but it's like, those games are too big. I don't want them to only be on PlayStation. I want them to be on Nintendo and Xbox. Like, it kind of sucked that Street Fighter V was a console exclusive. Now, a lot of people didn't like Street Fighter V when it first came out, so no one really gave a shit. But it would be kind of shitty to be like, yeah, you can't play the new Resident Evil game because it's only on PlayStation. So I'm glad it didn't go that way. And again, with the Bungie acquisition, it was part of the process that Bungie's still independent and they're still going to put stuff on Xbox. So like, really nothing's changing on that front, except now Sony is going to have Bungie's tech. And I guess that's really what they says. Like, Destiny's good.
Microsoft committed to what? 2 years of Call of Duty, basically, at least.
Activision,
whatever the deal is.
Yeah, and this happened with a couple of games with Bethesda too. It's like when you announce a game's coming on a system, it's kind of hard to. Well,
you also have probably whatever contracts under.
Exactly. Yeah.
Too.
So Activision, I think they said this next year, which I think they're redoing Modern Warfare or rebooting it or some shit. I mean, they already did that.
It's really interesting.
And then the one after will also be PlayStation, and then from there, it's like, who knows? And
it's really interesting. Microsoft's just business model in general, what they're doing these days. I don't know. It's interesting.
They're making good moves and
they're making it for a while. They let Google and everybody kind of pass them in the space they were in. It felt like I swear, if it wasn't for Microsoft Office, I'm not sure how. I don't know. Everybody else is making an operating system. Everything's web based too. They're finding ways to adapt though. It's interesting. All right. I'm just gonna talk about wrestling. Mike, you want to go first?
Yeah, I want to go first, but just a quick thing. I feel kind of bad for Microsoft. I mean, I haven't owned an Xbox since the 360, so it doesn't really affect me. I mean, it affects me, I guess, in a positive way or no way at all. That Sony's bought up Bungie and Call of Duty and all that shit.
Call
I
of
feel
Duty
kind
is
of bad.
Microsoft bought Call of Duty and Activision.
Yeah.
Oh,
Microsoft
well,
bought Activision.
that really doesn't affect me because I don't give a shit about Call of Duty. But it kind of sucks for the people that like they only have one of the types of systems, and maybe you're a Sony guy, but you really love Call of Duty. Now you can't play that.
Everything should just come out to
fucked
PC. Just move on. Go back. to
It does.
PC.
It pretty much does. PC is the one place you can.
Hey, did anybody watch the Halo trailer?
No.
I didn't.
I saw a little bit of it. I was just like, I'm not I've never been a Halo guy. I'm the guy who bought the first Xbox. They gave you Halo, but they also gave you a Fusion Frenzy demo that I played the shit out of.
Fusion Frenzy was the shit.
Fusion Frenzy is like top 5 Xbox game for me, bro. All right, it's
But
basically
Halo was number 1 Xbox game, so you probably should have played Halo.
That's not my. I'm not a big first person shooter guy. So,
but
is that Amazon? What's it coming out? What's it coming out on?
Paramount.
Paramount.
Yeah.
I mean, you know what? Honestly, you got to put on fucking original content. So, props. That's the only way you get your streaming service to work. Because someone who currently has Peacock for the next 28 days, there's nothing I want to watch on there. Maybe I'll watch a Psych movie eventually.
No, I pay for Peacock mainly because I forget to get rid of it. But so whatever.
Whenever we want to watch a pay-per-view and I gotta get it, I literally sign up for it and then immediately I hit cancel so that it just says, oh, it's gonna expire in 30 days, and I'm like, all right, we're good to go.
So essentially, you're paying $5 for WWE pay-per-views.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah.
Well, I'm getting the other one, right? The other one's in like 3 weeks. I'm gonna pick up that one just by having
awesome
it.
for you.
Go ahead, buddy.
So quick thing for me this week. Do you guys remember a movie called Live, Die, Repeat? Then it was called Edge of Tomorrow, starring Tom Cruise.
I never saw it, but yeah, I know.
Well, if you haven't seen it, I highly recommend watching that movie, Bobby. Tom Cruise is nuttier than squirrel shit, but that movie is really fucking good.
Bro, you're talking about a guy who like a couple months ago I was like, I'm watching 3 Mission Impossible movies this weekend. Fuck it, like that's me. I will separate the art from the artist sometimes, okay? It
is an extremely underrated movie. I think it's because of the name, Edge of Tomorrow. That is a stupid name.
Honestly,
they should have kept it Live, Die, Repeat.
I've only heard really good things from anybody who saw it. They all thought it was fucking great.
However, that is not my stuff I like this week. The reason why I bring that up is because what you may not know is that I'm calling it Live, Die, Repeat. Live, Die, Repeat was based off of a Japanese manga called... All You Need Is Kill. And I finally actually found the manga and I started reading it a couple of days ago. Mark has a look on his face like, oh man, like.
No, I remembered something that I was going to talk about. I'll save it for next week.
All right,
it's
cool,
golden.
Cool. So I just started reading the manga that the movie was based off of. I was a very similar premise. But as you can imagine, the source material is very good as well. And I already love reading manga, so it's right up my alley. So if you have a Viz Media membership, which, I mean, who does? But that would be the place where you could read All You Need Is Kill. Bonus, if you have a Viz Media membership, you can also read the latest Naruto mangas and all of the different mangas that come out every week in Japan. So All You Need Is Kill if you're a manga guy.
Mark, what'd you want to say? Go ahead.
Yeah.
Okay. I feel bad because
no point in saving it until next week.
Blow
that shit right now.
I should have. I was gonna send you guys the link, and I'll have to send it to you after. So now it's just gonna sound like a fucking fever dream. But there was in the mid 90s on pay-per-view, right around the time UFC was happening, there was this other promotion that would randomly have these little hour events going on. And I remember I loved them as a kid. I couldn't fucking remember what they were called. Like forever, I kept trying to think about what it was called. And just this past weekend, I finally found YouTube video where it had one of the full events. It's called Fight Zone, and this thing is the fucking most 90s crazy bullshit, but it's so fucking good. It's basically a mashup between pro wrestling, underground street fights, and UFC. And it's basically trying to like market off of like, it's basically, I mean, they saw the UFC success and was like, what if we had fights that were kind of more like blood sport, were fixed, but you know, we knew they'd be more entertaining. These guys are more charismatic. So I mean, there's just so many
I was so sure you were going to talk about Battle Dome, by the way, when you first started talking. I'm like, he's going to talk about Battle Dome.
I don't remember which one Battle Dome is.
That was the one on UPN. That was
okay. I'll tell you right now, Fight Zone's a billion times better. Fight Zone, I remember as a kid, I liked it more than watching the UFC. I was like, UFC is cool, but Fight Zone is just like, it's everything's 90s wrapped into one final thing. So, I mean, what I loved about it was they have two announcers. This is obviously like a Hollywood production. It's all the fighters are either pro wrestlers or stuntmen. And what really kind of cracked me up is like, they must have had rehearsals for this stuff because there's way too much shit going on not to have like had a practice run. There is no script for these guys whatsoever. Everything's completely ad-libbed. One of the commentators is like the straight man. He's got his tie and suit on. This other guy is basically like this Pauly Shore looking guy. And the guy says like, this guy just loves violence, don't you, Hank? Like, you just love seeing bloodshed. He's like, I do, Mike. I really love seeing fights, and Underground's like my favorite thing. So then they cut to the fighters have a little promo, which is like every character's got a fucking backstory. This one guy, Piranha, when I was 15, I left home because, like, you know, my family was really bad. And I joined the Merchant Marines. I traveled around, went to Asia, and I learned the ancient style of whatever fucking martial art he has. And now he owns a biker bar, and he loves piranhas because they go into a feeding frenzy. And that's like me when I'm in a fight. I just go crazy. And they have like these elaborate fucking fights. And I remember as a kid thinking it was real, only because these guys would get like, they do, I mean, it's obviously so fake now, but at 10 years old, I'm like, I think this might be real because they actually bleed. And it was like, they have a bloody nose, they got some blood coming out of their mouth, they have like a cut on the top of their eyebrow or something. I was like, I think this might be real, but like, other crazy bullshit is there's probably like 15 biker chicks, like all in these skimpy bikinis. They probably get the most exercise out of anyone in the event because every time the match starts, they have to run out to the crowd. Everyone in the crowd is completely paid. It's this weird mix of like biker dudes and scuzzy looking guys, and everyone's always like, yeah, Fight Zone. They have 20 like Asian drums and all these like, and usually there's two dudes drumming to each drum. And all the guys that are like the like martial arts looking guys look bored out of their mind as they're drumming. But then they got one guy on the big drum. It's this out of shape white dude who's got like the radiation tattoo, and he's drumming the shit out of this thing. He's so fucking excited. They got a huge gong. The announcer who announces the fights, he's wearing a flap jacket for whatever reason. He's afraid he's going to get shot. The referee's in a full riot gear and has a cattle prod for whatever reason, because it just everything screams extreme 90s, and I fucking love it. And even watching it now at 35, I was just like, this is still great. At the end of the show, they're like, you can call in to pick who our champion's going to be, and he doesn't even have to win. Whoever you like the most will be the champion, all right? You like this guy, but he got his ass kicked? Who cares? Call the 1-800 number and vote for the Irish Assassin, and he'll be our champion. It's the most extreme, weird bullshit, and it was so fun to finally find it and be like, this thing existed, and then to see all the comments underneath, like, I can't believe I finally found this. I love this shit as a kid. And I guess it had some, like, it got, like, not sanctioned, but, like, serialized in Russia. Because a bunch of Russian people are like, oh, man, this thing's huge in Russia. Like, it would play every Saturday, and we fucking loved it. And I was like, why wouldn't you? Who couldn't love this? It's the craziest bullshit I've ever seen. It is really fun. I'll put a link up in our chat, because you guys have to see it to believe it. But, yeah, I just saw that, and I was just like, oh, my God, I love it. Yeah, and I tried looking up more of it, like, who ran it? How did this get organized? There's nothing. The internet full of knowledge on all the most obscure things. You can't find shit about Fight Zone because it came and went and no one knows anything about it, but it is fantastic. And if you look up
Fight Zone, you get some UK thing right now.
Yes, it is. I will show you the link. It is bananas, but yes, sorry. I was gonna save that tangent for next week, but we're already here.
We should have let Mark end with that. Mine's gonna be pretty.
No, you got
get rid of that.
lots of wrestling.
I don't know. I mean, I don't know how much. Wrestling you're really gonna talk about. It wasn't that good this week.
Well, okay. I mean, I'm gonna talk about the most important thing that happened. Danhausen is all elite, folks. All right. Now, Mike doesn't understand Danhausen yet, so he's giving a weird look. But this is like, Mike's going to realize how cool Danhausen is in about 3 weeks, and he's going to be like, okay, I get it now. All right. This is a man who's built, he got 1 million views already on his debut, right? And like, his man has entirely been popular because of the internet. The best description that his character has been given is the one he gave Conan O'Brien. Because yes, Danhausen was on the Conan O'Brien podcast. And you can find this video on YouTube. It's about 4 minutes long, where he's pretty much explaining Danhausen to Conan O'Brien. And it's basically, the character is if Conan O'Brien was possessed by a demon. He has supernatural powers, but not really. He says Hausen with everything. It's kind of those things where me describing it isn't going to be as good as you seeing it. But, you know, he debuted, he cursed Adam Cole and left, and the curse worked because Adam Cole lost. So, well done, fucking Danhausen. He's going to be a big star. He's very Orange Cassidy type of gimmick, you know, where the audience really has to buy into it. But I mean, he's fucking killed it so far on the Indies, so it should be good. All right, the Royal Rumble. Well, it wasn't good, Mike. I think that's a fair description of the show, right?
Yes, that is a very fair description.
Okay, show started. They're like, it's gonna be Seth Rollins versus Roman Reigns, right? Seth Rollins is just playing a troll, okay, but a babyface. So Seth Rollins and Roman Reigns, I thought the match was really good, Mike. Honestly, I thought they had a really good match, and then they had a DQ fuck finish. And the crowd didn't like it. So that really was where the night fucking, you know, started going downhill. Then they had the Women's Rumble, which we all wondered, how is this Rumble going to work? Because WWE has fired so many women. And the answer was, half this Rumble is women that don't work for the company anymore. Bunch of legends. Mark, you would have...
Fuck ton of legends.
This Rumble was just legend after... Legend is loose term for some of these women.
Fun.
Sorry. The highlight of the match, in my opinion, of the Women's Rumble, was when Ivory came out. And Marcus Ivory came out in her right to censor gear. Okay? She came out with the microphone. Okay? Scolding people. She was scolding Rhea Ripley. Rhea Ripley picked her up and threw her out. The whole time Ivory's still talking. And that was the peak for me. I guess the one cool thing for some people was that they had Mickie James on the show, and Mickie James was able to come out while holding her Impact World title. People thought this was maybe WWE doing the whole Forbidden Door thing. Mike, they just don't have enough women. It's not that complicated. Like, and Mickie answered the phone, right? Ronda Rousey came out number 28. Those of us who bet on the Rumble and had number 28, like me, feeling really good right there because Ronda won the Rumble. Props to a woman showing up to do this 4 months after she had a kid, which is fucking impressive. They kind of set up Ronda versus Charlotte, which I think somebody wants to see, presumably. Then Becky Lynch faced a grown woman named Doudrop, and I don't know. I don't remember what happened.
In fairness to Becky Lynch and Doudrop, the crowd was basically out of this match. It could have been because of the Women's Royal Rumble, or it could have been that the WrestleMania sign was melting in that section.
That's
and
true.
They had to evacuate that section, lower the sign, put the fire out, or like put the melting out.
Yeah, Marcus, they have the WrestleMania sign they all point to.
They got
all of this happening while the match is going on.
That's true. They lit fire. But by the way, it lit fire again when they set it off again when Brock won. You hear about that? The match that they caught fire.
At that point, people were leaving. So
yeah. Bobby Lashley and Brock Lesnar. I was having a pretty good time with this. This match in general. This is a big hoss fight. I thought it was pretty cool.
Yeah, definitely.
The turn at the end, I don't think was all that surprising with Heyman. Yeah, those people who are paying attention.
So is Heyman with Roman again now?
I think so.
Okay.
Yeah. So Roman cost Brock the title. So everybody who's watching the show is like, oh my God, Brock's just going to show up in the Rumble and win the Rumble. And people who are optimistic are like, no, they wouldn't do that. Hold on. Then they had Edge and his wife take on The Miz and his wife. That was a bit reductive. Edge and Beth Phoenix versus Miz and Maurice. I was distracted by Maurice the entirety of this match. The woman was wrestling in lingerie. This isn't me being pervy. The woman was wrestling in lingerie and it was distracting.
I don't know what you're talking about, man. I'm
Mike,
here
name
for
one
the
thing.
athletic.
What happened in the match? How did they win?
Pinfall, duh.
Okay, well, what was the finishing move? How did they beat her?
It was a double glam bomb or whatever the fuck her finisher is called.
Okay, the fact you got the name of the finisher wrong, I'm gonna assume you just read this somewhere.
It is glam bomb, right, or some shit like that.
I think it's the glam slam.
Okay, I wasn't that far off. All right.
All right. Men's Royal Rumble. It's fine. And then Shane McMahon got in it for some reason. And then there was like 7 people in the ring. And then Brock Lesnar came out at 30. And then 2 minutes, 30 seconds later, nobody was in the ring but Brock. It wasn't good. They didn't need to do that. Apparently Matt Riddle was the initial guy who's supposed to win the Rumble. Which that would have been real cool. Let's make a guy. As Stefan was complaining. They didn't do that. So, people saying it's the worst Rumble ever are really short-sighted, though. There was those Rumbles where the crowd almost started a riot when Roman won. So, that was pretty bad. In 2015.
That's, I mean, all right. But I think that's because people don't like Roman. I mean, they tried.
Mike, yeah, Peacock, 2015 Royal Rumble. 2014 and 2015 Royal Rumble are required viewing to watch the crowd just turn on the entire fucking thing. They've had to edit it to get rid of all the boos. Yeah, I mean, it was okay. I don't know what else there is to say. I'm pretty excited for MJF and CM Punk on Wednesday, though. I think that's going to be good. And then, what is it? The week after that is Hangman versus Lance Archer. Texas Death Match. I'm on board for that, too.
So.
I like that. I like Lance Archer getting back on TV after the last time we saw him. He did that moonsault from the top rope and landed right on top of his head. We all thought he was dead. So it's good that he's not. Yeah. This is a fairly uneventful podcast, except for the part where Mark talked about Fight Zone. I'll be honest. We're gonna have to put links to Fight Zone on the fucking social media,
guys will watch Fight Zone, and next week you'll be like, oh yeah.
We're gonna have to put links to this on social media, guys.
This
is
great in all like the worst ways. Like, look, it's great because of how bad and dated it is, but it is just like, and then you got to read the comments and like look at all the. Oh, there's so many.
Where'd you find this?
On everything. I don't even remember.
Where is this link to?
Found it. It's a YouTube. So someone posted the full hour event, and I was like, I need to find more. There has to be more here, and I can only find little snippets of clips. God, I'd love to find the rest of it. I guess it was. This
is like when we found Small Town Street Fight. This is like when we found that on YouTube one day. What a day that was!
I mean, and I wrote in the chat like, this rivals it. It's not better than that because nothing's better than Small Town Street Fight. If you know what we're talking about, look in the annals of MMAzing.com. You will find
we did a whole
choicest gem.
We did a commentary with it. We did a commentary piece. We did a fight companion.
Yeah,
basically for Small Town.
The only thing we've seen in our inception of this podcast that was worthy of doing a fight commentary on. And that thing, and I wrote it in the chat like it rivaled. It's not as good as that. Nothing's as good as that because that thing was a fucking gem that can never be recreated or topped. But Fight Zone comes pretty fucking close. And then read the comments because then you see everyone ratting on it. It's just so fun. But yeah, sorry.
All right. Well, we'll be back next week, guys. I can't promise we're all going to watch Sean Strickland versus Jack Hermansson, but I can promise we'll see the highlights.
Mm-hmm. We'll know the results.
We'll know who won. We'll tell you who won. Okay. That we can promise you. All right, boys and girls. Well, that was Dr. Law. That was DJ Mark, and that was Lavender Gooms. Thank you again so much for listening to this podcast, and we hope you'll be better next week.
It has to be.
It has to be. God. Fuck. All right. Peace out.
See ya.
Peace.